All right. This is the fun part, in my opinion. So you want to go up to the corner of your blender. It can be any corner. It can be this corner, that corner over there, this one over here. It doesn't matter until you see this white plus sign. What you want to do is click and drag this window, and it's going to create another window. Okay, so now we have two windows to work in. You want to go to the smaller window, make one window smaller so you can see. So now what we want to do is go up to editor type. It's this button on the left side, far left, always there on every single window that you have. Click that. We want to go over to the animation part and go down to non-linear animation. It's going to bring up this empty black box. You can move this over so you can see the timeline. I always do, but everything's empty right now. So what you want to do is go over here to rig. Select rig. You're going to see all these dots. These dots are your Sims rig. That is how they get posed. That's how they move around. So now you have rig selected. Come over to the box with your sim in it and select I on your keyboard, the letter I as in ice. Go down to location, rotation, and scale and select it. Now over in this action box, rig should show up and rig action should show up, and you're going to hit this drop down menu on the orange action bar. Just hit it and it'll become an actual, this is now a pose. This is the pose that he's in. He is in rig action pose. We're going to move on to Sims 4 Studio to get a pose. This is the reason why you need the old version of Blender. Sims 4 Studio does not support newer versions of Blender, and you need Sims 4 Studio to get your poses. My projects. And then you want to go to your animations, whichever animations you have. If you downloaded a specific one that you want to see, and put it somewhere else, or if you want to just take it from your mods folder, from your animations folder, whatever. So select your pose. All right, when you open up the package file, Sims 4 Studio is going to look like this because you're under pose pack. These are all the poses that are underneath the pose pack in the package file. You can't do anything from here. If you try to do it from here, it's just going to give you the icon. What you want to do is hit this tab called clips. It'll take you to this part. These are all the separate poses. Sometimes the creators have the previews there. Sometimes they don't. So you're just going to have to figure that out. Down here, it says rig. You can change this to fit whichever rig you're trying to get the poses for. So mine would be adult male. And then once you choose whatever pose you want them to have, we'll say he'll do pose number 5. You hit export. Over here, next to rig. Not export on icon because that'll just give you the picture. Once you hit export, it's going to ask you where you want to save it, and it's going to save as a blend file. This is another folder that you pre-made under your renders folder. You're going to put it under poses. I like to label all my poses, keep them all together because again, I am nuts and go crazy. So we're going to put this under male, and I also have a lot of poses under that. You can either just save it to wherever in your poses folder, or you can organize it like I do. It really doesn't make a difference, but you're going to save it. Once it's saving, it'll say exporting animation. So now we got the pose. What you want to do is go back to Blender. We're going to go up to File, and then we're going to see this little clip over here. We're going to hit Append. Append is going to be your best friend for Blender after you figure out how to get your sim in. Like, you're going to do everything through Append. You're going to go to your Poses folder. If you have not already bookmarked it, it should be under Render and Poses. You just find wherever you put that, and you're going to select your pose. Once you select the actual blend file, it's going to come up with these folders. Since it is a pose, you want to go to Action. Double click it, and it's gonna have this here. It'll say what the pose pack is, what number it is, whatever the creator labeled it as. And then you're going to hit append. Now that that's done, you want to come over to your rig, select that, and then also select rig action so it knows where you're trying to put the animation. Then you want to go to add right here at the top of your timeline here. And then you hit add action strip. It'll bring up this. So this black box pops up whenever you hit add action strip. And it'll have all the animations that you've appended to that version of Blender listed. So it has the action rig that you already automatically have, and then it has the pose that we just put in. And you're going to select that pose. If you've already selected your animation and you need to go back into Sims 4 Studio, they save your projects here for you right here, so you don't have to search for it again under all your mods and stuff. Under settings, you can change however many recent projects it'll save. I have it set to 30, but you don't have to do that many, or you can do more. So that's how I was able to just get back to my animations real quick. Make sure if you didn't get the pop-up as to where your save went, it did not save. Sims 4 Studio will always pop it up and show you where you saved it at. It's always in numerical order. So if you have more than one, just, use your brain. 4 comes before 5. So we already did it. This would be 5. This one's 4. So there's 4. Also, look, some of these poses be doing weird shit. Like, let me show y'all something. Who in the ET? Why they do his fingers like this? Look at this shit. I'm scared. How do I move around? Okay, so I have a mouse. To move it, I just use my wheel, the mouse wheel, and I just click your mouse and drag it. Zoom in, same thing, it's your mouse wheel. And then to move the actual screen, you hold down Shift on your keyboard, and then if you're using a mouse, click with your mouse wheel and drag the mouse. We can move on to putting your sim in a scene. So first, before we do any of that, let me kick myself. You need to save. File, save as. This is called a pose blend. So you're going to go to your render folder, and then you're going to click the folder that says pose blend. Yours will be empty, mine is not, don't judge me. You're going to name it whatever you want to name it. You can put it as the Sim's name. You can put it as whatever pose they're doing, whatever the scene that they're going to will be. So I'm just going to put it as his name, Apollyon, and save. Make sure, after doing all this hard work, please save your sim. Because if you don't save, and you move on to a scene, you're going to be pissed off because you're going to lose everything. All right, so we're going to move on to doing a scene. Now, we're going to do the easiest way to get your sim in a scene, and then we're going to do the complex way to get your sim into a scene. The easiest way to do it would be to create a cube and just take a picture of your sim in a cube. It'll be like a solid background, but it's a nice kind of like a character card. So in order to do that, what you want to do is go to the window where you have your sim, and then you want to go up to these tabs up here. It'll say view, select, add an object. You want to go to add, and then you want to add mesh and add a cube. It's going to be a giant cube that's going to pop up in the middle of your sim. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You're going to go over here and you're going to hit scale on this. This is your toolbar. If you ever do not see this toolbar over here, all you have to do is go up to view and select toolbar, because it disappears. It'll go away. Sometimes it's confusing. So what you want to do is hit scale. Make this box a little bit bigger, just so you have some room to move around. This one is transform. That means it's all of them together. So that would be scale, move, rotate, all of them together. That's the easiest one to do. Just move the box up so that, you know, that their feet are inside, and then you can zoom in and you're inside the box, so it's like they're in a room. Just so you guys know, this is to move out. This is to move up. After you've added your cube and got your little background, this cube is just a regular white cube. Your sim is basically in a room now. If you want to see how this would look, if you were to take a picture of it right this second, you can go over to the right side and click this furthest right bubble that kind of looks like a bubble. And it's viewpoint shading. So it's really dark in here because there's no lighting. You're in a room. It's a white background. It's very bland, very boring, but this is how your picture would look. Okay? So, in order to make this not so boring, we're going to select this cube here, and then we're going to go over to this world properties. Just change the color. You can see the color changing if you stay in that as well. So we'll just go for like a nice yellowy tone, I guess. Okay. So once you have your cube, whatever color you want it to be, you can add a camera. So you go up to add, you hit camera, and it'll pop up. The easiest way to find it is just look for the move bubble, because it'll 10 chances to 1 appear underneath everything that you've done. Okay, so this part you can use your second window for. You just go back to 3D viewpoint, and then you hit this little camera button on the right side. That's where your camera is now. When you move it, this is showing your camera view. You can change resolution. If you go over to the right side and go down, there's these tabs here. You want to go to the third one down, output properties. Under format, you can change it. I always set mine to 1980 because I'm weird. I just set up the camera however you want it. And you can add as many cameras as you want to. There's another camera here. In order to change the view from the camera, all you have to do is go over to the right side and click the button, and it'll change which camera view you're looking at. But like I said, since it is Blender, just play with it. You know, move it around, tilt it, change your perspective. So once you got that all done and everything, you got your background set to whatever color you want it to be. To check and see how your picture is going to look, you hit this last bubble over here. And this, it's automatically going to show you what it looks like in Eevee. So in order to know the difference, Eevee is a very quick photo, but it is less detailed. It's going to give you your sim pretty much exactly as you see it as you're doing it in Blender. No extra details, no extra pixelations, no fix, no nothing like that. 10 chances to 1 if you have a male sim and they have a big fluffy beard, you're going to have to use Eevee, because the beards, they clip and they look weird if you do them in cycles. In order to get your sampling and stuff for your photo, you go over to this right side and click the second tab down. It looks like a little TV. It's called Render Properties. And it'll say Render Engine. It's automatically going to be set to Eevee. Once you have everything set, you got your camera set, you got your background set, you got your sim set, you got their pose on, everything is good. You have your camera where you want it. You have your settings right. I usually go like 128 for my pictures. It does take about 10 to 15 minutes in cycles. Eevee should be like half a second. It should be super fast. So I'm going to change that to 128. Make sure that you have your camera size set the way you want it and all that. Make sure that this is checked, viewpoint denoising. Make sure that that's checked, otherwise your picture will be grainy. And after all this stuff is done, you're going to file, save as. Once you have your sim and your scene done, completely finished, you want to save as under Blender, because this is a completed project where you're getting your pictures from. So the folder that I told you to label as Blender, that's where you're going to put all your completed scenes. You can name it whatever you want. I usually do, especially if it's a cube, I'll just put their name and then cube. And then to do your picture, you go up to render and hit render image. Boom. Then to save, you go to image, you save as, you go to your render folder, and you save it under rendered pictures. Label it whatever you like. And you're done. That is Eevee. Now, if you want your sim to be all the details, you're going to have to render them in cycles, which means you're going to have to add lighting.